to the second episode of the Pack Pod.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Pack Pod.
I'm Eva.
And I'm your host Rex.
And you're grabbing for something.
No.
You're not?
I was gonna grab for Kenny, but I felt bad after
grab
you
for
said
Kenny? It. Oh, like what? I guess here. Like, what do you think of the new set?
Yeah, guys, we have a new set now. We our friend Josh here in our class, he helped make it.
Yeah, shout out to Josh.
Dude, I think he did 10 times better than our first.
It was amazing. It looks amazing.
I didn't even know Miss Mateo had half of the stuff that's on this table, but she had all of it.
We just started digging through, and I was like, guys, look, there's a small camera, and
I can't exactly grab it, but look at this microphone from like the early 2000s.
Yeah, there's like a 2010s microphone, and there's another one over here that looks like it's more from like even before then.
Dude, even Toothless has headphones, y'all. Even Toothless gets some headphones.
He's
digging it. I'm gonna steal them from him later.
He's working. He's over here. Well, I guess on that note, we'll start with some updates.
Yeah.
The social medias are up.
Yes.
So go follow at Plano West pwsh.abp on Instagram and TikTok. Also go follow and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
It is also Plano West Senior High. It's pwsh.abp. And then the Spotify is AV Pack Pod.
Yeah, so go check it out. Go follow because
please go check it out.
We've been dropping a lot of content recently,
and we plan to keep dropping it consistently throughout the year.
We have a whole schedule.
Yes.
A whole schedule.
Gosh. Eva's having a lot of fun.
I'm living my like manager dreams.
Your manager dreams.
It's so much fun.
When I was calling you the other day when we were setting up this episode, and I was asking you like all these questions, I felt like I was on a business call. I felt like I was a businessman.
No.
Because I was using AirPods and I was talking through the AirPods. Felt like my dad.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, today, following updates.
Yes.
Today we're talking about camera shots.
Camera shots.
And the reason I bring up camera shots is because we just did a natural transitions project.
Yes, we did.
That focused heavily on camera shots, and also with the mood project, which we did talk about a little bit last time. A lot of the main aspect going into it was planning out what shots you're going to use, how are you going to transition into different shots, how are you going to lay it out. And so I thought today would just be a great time to kind of talk about the importance of shots.
I will say this project, it was very fun, and I could have done better on it, but I low-key, I kind of got slammed, and my friend would not listen when I was trying to direct him where to stand. But most of it turned out pretty well, except for I think the straffle blocking shot.
Yes.
That was the one shot that does not look very great.
All the others came out really good.
Like the back shot and coming out the back, that one's easy to do. That's so good. The sky one's good. The wet pan one, that was actually really fun.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit lazy with it because I was okay. There's a big project coming up in AV too, which is why we did the natural transitions project. And I'm not gonna spoil anything, so you're not gonna get anything out of it. But we did we did the natural transitions project to lead up to something, and I got a bit lazy, and Miss Mateo was like, I wanted you guys to go out with it, and I was like, I'll go out with it when we get to the big project.
Oh yeah.
But I mean,
Don't worry.
It was cool to learn, because I mean, some of those the door shot when you're going into the door and through the glass, that was kind of hard to time.
Is the big project what Luke was talking about a little earlier?
I think so, but we're gonna save that for our upcoming segments, because today...
Smart.
What?
I said that's smart.
That is, smart, because we have two guests joining us on the show today. I'm so excited for you guys to meet our two special guests.
Yes.
We're going to be interviewing... Well, I'm going to be interviewing Luke Perez.
And I'm going to be interviewing Hannah Hayes.
Yes, so we're so excited
for
you.
Both are students at our school.
Them.
With both awesome backgrounds, and they're both amazing kids, and y'all are both gonna love the interviews.
Yeah, so with that, I think you're gonna go interview Hannah.
All right, y'all.
All right, so we'll see you guys in just a second.
What's most exciting about AV, Ryan?
I got QR code for you.
Make your short film, bro.
Wow.
I mean, what's your favorite project you've done so far?
The short film
The short film?
from last year.
Oh, from last year.
Yeah, I was Showeria.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your short film about?
The Stalker.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
You like Miss Mateo's class?
It's fire.
Yeah.
Pretty fire.
You excited to see episode 2 for the Pack Pod?
Of course. Like, come on, man.
And you got anything else to say to the camera?
No, nothing else to say, man. Like,
All right.
Welcome back, guys. We just got back from our very first commercial break of the year. And this time, instead of Eva, I have a special guest with me.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm like the only goth girl in this school, so.
Today, I have a segment, and it's about camera shots. And my guest here knows somebody who is very familiar with camera shots, especially in the professional world. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yes. So my mother was best friends with a dude when she was a kid, and he became really big in the industry. He got with Jimmy Kimmel, and he like does like the cameras and like helps around. Like he's been with him for a very long time, even to the point that I don't know his name, but
You talking about Jimmy Kimmel's assistant?
yeah, assistant.
The funny little Mexican guy on Jimmy Kimmel. I
Yeah.
cannot remember his name for the life of me.
Me either, but he was at his wedding, so like he's been knowing him for a very, very long time.
And we were lucky enough to get an interview with him, and we asked him a few questions about what it was like in the professional world. And Hannah, you were the one that did the interview and asked the questions, so I'm gonna let you take the lead.
Okay, I like what I got from it. He said it was a lot of work, pretty much. Like there's like a lot of people in the background, like they have to figure out like actors, like camera shots and like props. Like there's so much work into it, and like you have to have like a dedication for it. Like he even said like he could teach a whole class like
Yeah.
about this.
I remember I read the messages, and he was like, I could teach like a whole semester about every question that you just asked me, but it would take too long, and there's too much information for you to know. And he was telling us about how some jobs are bigger than others, like some films, and sometimes it could be 50 crew members, or it could be like 500 crew members. So depending on like your budget and I guess what you're making and who you can get to give you a big enough budget for it will kind of depend on where you can go.
Like especially like using like Endgame, like those movies, like
Those have beautiful camera shots.
yeah, like even like there's so many people from behind. Like we all know like the actors themselves, but you gotta remember there's like the camera crew, there's the makeup people, there's the director, there's so many like people even help with lines.
I know this is kind of weird, but like, cause you said from behind, so like the camera shots I really love are like when you see a character that you know, but you see like the back of their head, and it's like you can tell who that character is, but like you also can't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's very interesting, like from like learning about it and like figuring out everything about it, because like he said like for people who are wanting to do this type of like a job, like he was like, do it, it's like so much fun, and you meet a lot of like good people.
You meet a lot of people doing this. I feel like now that I've done this class so much, I kind of want to continue this in my future career, and you do meet a lot of interesting people getting to do this job, because I mean when you film something, to get certain shots you have to go to a lot of different places. You can't always make something on a set. You sometimes have to travel some places, and then that's where you meet other people.
Yeah.
That's
like,
what I really love, when movies will travel to different places across the world for their shots instead of like all CGIing it. love that.
Supernatural, they go to like natural like places.
Didn't
like,
they go to like almost every state for the
yeah,
show?
I think so. Yeah. For even like Beetlejuice, they even made the house to
Really?
like be in the movie and everything.
That's interesting. I had
And
no
like
idea.
in the new movie, they did that too. Like they made a whole set for it.
They like just made the whole house.
Yeah.
Well, dang.
It's very
awesome.
interesting, especially like if you want to figure out like stuff about your like favorite movie,
Mhm.
there's so much behind the scenes.
There's a lot. There's a lot that goes into specific like, and I feel like editing camera shots can be really tough, especially when you're like cutting between so many. I feel like animes have a hard time doing this. I mean, I know it's not like you're not filming it, but like it's still a bunch of different shots, I'd say, like a bunch of different drawings, and you have to like cut it up to like a specific point to make sense. Like,
Yeah.
even in like, I'm trying to think of a good movie, like Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, like having to be able to pace the whole movie of like when Ted Bundy first started killing to the very end, the climax, like the whole having to pace that within 2 hours and 30 minutes with all of these different shots. It takes time. It takes a lot of work.
And like the little details they've added in that movie too. And it's funny because like I know a story behind this with my grandfather. He actually met him. He was working at a school in Washington where my mother was going, and he was trying to get a job out of him, and luckily my grandfather knew like something was up. Like he was like, I don't trust this man, and luckily he was like, no. And like my grandmother, she also told me that like they lived like 2 stories down of one of the victims too. It's crazy in Washington. There's so many.
It's one thing I just remembered was when, I know this is like jumping back to the Jimmy Kimmel guy, but I remember he was talking about how like every time they shoot a shot, the final shot's not the only shot of that shot. They shoot like from every angle, which I find interesting. And I also find that I wonder if that's more complicated in the final product to edit, because you have to go through like all of these, like you have so many clips, right?
Yeah.
And like say you have 10 different clips from 10 different angles of the same clip. I don't understand how movies are made.
Yeah.
It's
like clip by like I feel like some people would go insane. Like I've done my
dude, I would
own-
go insane if I was editing the movie. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, like I've done like a little editing and I was going insane.
I remember last year when we had to. Last year we had a project in AV, and it was we had to make sound effects for Wall-E, and it was a bunch of different shots of what Wall-E was doing, and it was like a whole scene, and we would have to match the sounds to the shot and to like what he was doing. And I remember, and we had to use like real world items, so it was like even more difficult to do it. But I remember like the more you did it and the more you tried like working with the tools, and the more I watched each shot, and the more I watched it, the more I could keep hearing like, ooh, this is probably going to sound good for this, or ooh, this might sound good for this. It was a lot of trial and error, and didn't end up going very well, but it was a lot of fun, that project. And I low-key just blanked in my mind.
For me, like with movies, like especially horror movies,
Mm-hmm.
they do so good with like making it so creepy by just using cameras and sound. Like I know like in the Halloween movies,
Mm-hmm.
like they like were the, I don't know what's
I
the
mean,
word.
words didn't really have to be said. You just had to see what was going on, and
Yeah,
you were
there was,
terrified.
like, there was a scene that was like, it made it like the longest like silent scene, and it was just the camera, I think, zooming.
I think it was In or Out. I haven't seen the movie in forever, but like movies like that, even Long Legs, like the angles that they did.
Long Legs had, I think, probably the most terrifying angles for a horror movie I've ever seen. And I've seen like every horror movie ever. And Long Legs, like the decisions they made for the shots, especially when they wanted to show you what Long Legs looked like, was so perfect and so well. It was so well timed and executed that like it kept you terrified throughout the entire movie, even to the point like when you knew what he looked like, you were still scared of him, because they kept it going that like you couldn't see him. Like his face was always out of camera's view.
Yeah.
Or it would just be like his neck down. But then eventually they start showing him little by little, and I really like that detail. I like when movies do that. I like when they like try and keep something a secret, and then like little by little and by little and by little they show it. And I like how with Long Legs they showed it throughout the shots. It's like little by little you see more of him.
Yeah.
And eventually we saw his full face, and it was terrifying.
Yeah, it like creeped me out because it gives off like Southern Gothic, and that's how I fell in love with it, because it
kind of reminded me of the Chainsaw Massacre a little bit.
I thought of Silence of the Lamb a little bit too, because of like the main girl, like how the story's like set. It's like the first movie, Silence of the Lamb, and I've seen that movie too many times to even count. So that's why I fell in love with that movie so much.
I think my favorite horror movie for shots is the Conjuring series. I think especially the Conjuring 1, that I'm never gonna forget. Like there was like 3 different shots in my mind right now, and there was one where it was like zoomed all the way out from the house, just like that, really, really fast with the creepy music, and it was super scary. And then there was oh my gosh, the one where Bathsheba, the witch, who like cursed the land and the house. That's the story of The Conjuring. If y'all didn't know, this is a real story, by the way. Yeah. Allegedly a real story. And she apparently sacrifices her baby to Satan, and she hung herself outside in front of the house. And in the movie, at first they show a shot of Lorraine standing under said tree, and Ed walks out. And when Ed's standing next to Lorraine, you can hear like this creaking noise, as if something's like creaking back and forth, like something like swinging almost, like a swing. And Lorraine just like, it cuts, like it was showing the back of their heads. Then it cuts to the front of their heads, and behind them you see 2 legs hanging from the tree. Yeah. Ed can't see it, but Lorraine can, because allegedly Lorraine is a psychic, and she can see certain things that we can't. I personally believe it, but I know some people don't, so that's why I said allegedly. But it is, and then after, when Ed started freaking out, because he didn't know why, Lorraine starts freaking out, Ed's confused, and then it cut to like a wide shot, and Lorraine was like, look up, or like she's above you, or something like that, and it showed a wide shot of it all. And I think my favorite part about filming is getting to play with the shots, especially like how close up you can get.
Yeah.
Because I always forget, I'm going to be honest, I always forget that there's a zoom feature on the camera. So sometimes I like try and get too close, and then I realize, wait, I could go
just
back.
Zoom.
Yeah, I could just zoom. I can make this way easier myself.
Like, my favorite part is like the acting, because I always wanted to become an actress, but like it's just it's kind of hard, like not even kind of, it is, and like you have to like do it so perfectly, and like try to, and there's sometimes like actors, like I know so many like actors that like made up stuff, and it kept like Silence of the Lamb. Like most of the time the guy who's playing Hannibal Lecter, he was an alcoholic.
Really?
Yeah, and he does not remember any of that movie.
Damn.
And that is like, it's heartbreaking.
Some people take method acting really far. Like I think the the best case that I can give for an example would be Heath Ledger, who's actually on our set. That's my favorite actor. If I'm being real with y'all, Heath Ledger, when he played the Joker in The Dark Knight in 2008, he's what's known as called a method actor, and he would use method acting, which is like kind of becoming your character in real life. He did that, and he kind of went a little crazy, and he passed away. Actually, right before the movie came out, and that's probably the hardest thing on Hollywood. I feel like that was really hard.
That and
Robin Williams. Yeah.
I remember that day when I got that news, especially.
Yeah, my mom was not happy. She was very sad.
Love that
I love
man.
Robin Williams. That is Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah.
I love Mrs. Doubtfire so much. But to get on to a different subject, your father is in a band.
Yes.
And the reason I want to bring this up, I know we were talking about camera shots, but I want to bring this up in this segment because in this class last year, we got to make our own song with this thing called GarageBand, and it was very fun. It was very complicated, but it was fun. And her dad is in a band called Meat Goat, and what he does is he writes all the music, and he sends it to each member that plays the music, and he has them record what he wants them to play and how he wants them to play it, so it sounds perfect. And if they don't do it right, he has them redo it. I would like to play one of the songs. Okay, I would like to play a little bit of one of the songs, just because I know it's just really impressive.
Yeah.
Like
he's been doing
a lot of the time.
2005.
2005.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
That's
That's longer than I've been alive. So, to give.
And he learned how to do drums and everything. So.
All right, guys. That's all I'm gonna play, but
You can find him on YouTube.
you can. It was really impressive. There's a lot more, and I really enjoyed it. But guys, that's gonna be all for this segment. Thank you guys for joining me and Hannah.
Thank you for having me.
Hannah, I hope to have you again on this podcast. And guys,
Especially
we will
in
see you guys
October.
when we come back.
Selected, and it is intercepted. Jordan Hugh with it.
Once a wolf, always a wolf. A team bonded by brotherhood, built by the ones who came before. A lifetime's worth of work and sacrifice goes into this tradition. Each week is a new opportunity to leave a legacy that travels outside of these walls. To give birth to the next great hit, next great pass, next great win. It's time for this team to write their chapter in Plano West history. Can I get a wolf back?
All right, welcome back to our next segment of the podcast, and we have a very special guest.
Oh, it's connected to my computer. Hold up.
Oh my goodness, it is your own.
What's up, guys?
Perez. Welcome to the Pack Pod.
Super excited to be
Aren't
here.
you? You've been here since
Been here before, but it never got posted. So this
It
is like
didn't.
the
I
first
was
time.
thinking about editing it actually because there's a really funny camera shot in the beginning where you just put your face right up to the camera, and it's honestly like one of the funniest shots
Do it, edit
that we
it in
have.
there. What do you have to talk about today? Because I got a lot. But
Okay, so today we're talking about camera angles, and I thought you'd be perfect for this since you're kind of our
I wish I was briefed
kind of
on this
our-
a little bit.
It's like camera angles and shots and just kind of how you use those to build your films because I'm not gonna lie, you're kind of like one of the most talented kids in this class. You do a lot of work around the school. I know you've been active on a lot of projects. Your football hype video was
I appreciate that.
amazing.
Thank you.
It was so good. Thank you for letting us post that actually as well. That was really cool to post, to be like, oh yeah, I sit like right next to him in class. What are y'all talking about? But yeah, so like what went into that? What went into the production for that?
Okay, can they see my feet?
No.
Okay, I'm taking my shoes off. Well, going into the production of that film, I had a really clear vision in my mind, and I think that's something that's super important for creatives and directors. Is it's not about coming up with a good idea and seeing where it goes. It's about having a good idea and giving birth to it. I had a really clear direction of what I wanted. I knew I wanted to get a notable alum to come back and narrate the video. I wasn't sure of the formatting and how I wanted it to all look, but I knew I wanted someone to come back and speak to get that crowd hyped up.
Yeah.
So once I had that idea, there was a lot of inspiration. Watched a ton of YouTube. Like I literally think, and I talk about this with Josh and Zach. Huge thank you to them for all the help that they gave me. But I remember talking about them. Honestly, it took me about 45 minutes in total to film the segment with Jordan Pugh.
Yeah.
But there was so much work that went in behind the scenes. There was storyboarding. I went and had to go find old photos. That took about an hour to find these pictures. There's a lot of stuff that goes into crafting a scene. And so I think when you talk about shots and stuff, the biggest thing, well, with that was a pretty setup.
Yeah.
I had my just little, I had it all set up and I was ready to shoot that. But
I know I remember like getting ready to, there's an upcoming project in AV that we're working on, and I won't give any spoilers to it, but I remember like sitting at the camera and I was like, how do you even like plan for this? And you were like, oh, you should just like go here and just look at shots, because that's what I do all the time. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And that's something when we talk about shots, there's a really great website called Eye Candy.
Yes, Eye Candy.
They don't make any money off of it, I don't believe. But they literally just post shots for creatives. And whenever I'm coming up with an idea, I'm trying to write a short film right now, I'll just go there. And I even talked about it with Josh literally 5 minutes ago. It's honestly easy for me to see a shot in my head and then build the story off of that.
Yes.
I've always kind of had this idea of just like a super close-up, like Western film. Like I love the Western shots where they literally just show like the face and like barely any headroom and all of that.
Yes.
And so that's a big one right now that I'm kind of trying to work on. But I mean, we'll see where it goes. We got some time, but I would love to pump out some big short films coming up soon.
I know, like speaking, I was going to say, you've been like literally yesterday as we were, you know, building the new set for this episode and like planning out how we were going to do it. You're literally over here with the projector and you're just like, okay, so we're going to sit down and we're going to take notes. And I really like how that looks, guys. I really like this. And so are you using that film for, I guess, college or?
Yeah. I mean, I just want to make a bunch of cool stuff. Like that's always kind of my goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to use one of those for college. You know, the application process is really, really hard. I have to have a lot of stuff. So that's a big thing for me. And yeah, I talked about it with the hype video, but drawing inspiration is the best thing you can do as a creator. Even if it's not from the film world, even if you're not looking at YouTube videos, at films to figure out, oh, I like this shot, I like this angle, just looking around and looking at your surroundings and seeing what you have and what you can make out of what you have. I really think that's so important. And I think sometimes people try and reinvent the wheel when sometimes the wheel's standing right in front of them, and they can make a really funny movie about a wheel.
Absolutely. So. And I mean, I guess going off of that, how are you using the concept of like storyboarding to like plan out your shots? Like when it comes to camera angles and you're going into it and you're like, okay, I want to shoot this, I want it to look like that. How are you using that storyboard to kind of plan out those angles that can best depict what you're trying to capture?
To be honest, my storyboarding is terrible. It is it is nowhere close to where it needs to be. My storyboards are, give me a sheet of paper, I'll tell you what my mind says, but it's not very professional looking at all. In a professional sense, you kind of got to have, oh, this is what this scene looks like. This is how the camera is moving. This is where the lighting is. This is where all this stuff is. Mine is, this is how I see the shot in my eye. And the biggest thing is, even with the Jordan Pugh video, I mean, I showed up there and I had an idea of what I wanted it to look like. And I knew that I wanted certain things here and certain things there. But that was really my first time putting everything on to set. I didn't have time to build it and tweak it before he came. We were working on a little bit of a time crunch. I can't keep that stuff in the locker room. So my storyboards are just that's my brain on paper.
Yeah.
And so whenever I get to places and whenever I'm trying to come up with a scene, it's really just about creating that vision that I talked about. It's just trying to get as close to that as I can. And I don't always get it perfect, but I try and get pretty close. And yeah, it's just all about recreating that vision in my head.
Yeah, because what was I thinking about? The other day, it was like weeks ago. It was like the first week, and you walk up to the board and you just start drawing out just everything. You just picked up a board.
Honestly,
and
you
you're
might
like,
need to include a picture of that because
I
literally,
think I will.
It's like it was like a 10-foot by 10-foot board, just covered in words and whatever. And there's notes to myself, and my brain moves a billion miles per hour. I don't even know what I'm thinking right now. Like I'm already thinking about the next thing.
No, but I think like that's like a great thing to have because, you know, I think one of the biggest things for creators, for filmmakers, is like having that imaginative well to like feed off of, because, you know, there could be somebody who knows how to do it, who has a skill to do it. You know, they know what shots to use, they know how to lay it out, and then they don't have the imagination to like put, you know, the emotion and the passion into it. And that's something you're really good about doing. And I like give you a lot of credit for that, because sometimes I like look at your work and I'm like, literally, where did he get this where did he get this from?
So this is where we got to get into the fun stuff, you know, because you talked about shots, and specifically in movies, that's a really big thing. Like I would love to talk about the movie side of things. So I mean, I would consider my biggest inspiration to be Christopher Nolan. First off, that guy's, you talk about someone's mind. That guy's mind he's a genius.
Yes.
And he really is. He's the Picasso of the film industry. I mean, the best there ever is. I really think when you look at his work though, he really is able to tell a story through his visuals, and that's something that I'm really trying to incorporate in the short film I'm working on right now. I don't want a lot of words. You can yap. I can tell you that the red fish ate the blue fish and now there's only one fish. I can tell you that with my words, and you're going to sit there and be like, all right. But if you can show that without words, I think that's something that's really hard to depict. Mm-hmm. And it gives the viewer time to come up with their own story, come up with their own interpretation of that. And so I love his films. I love in Oppenheimer, the way he incorporates his shots and some of those things. Yes. First off, the fact that he doesn't use any I say special effects. The fact that he doesn't use any CGI and all that stuff is created real. That's a hard thing to do, especially in today.
Yeah.
And man, like.
But that's a skill, because I feel like a lot of the times, and I mean, obviously sometimes it's needed, but CGI isn't always the first thing you can turn to. Like a lot of the times it could be as simple like zoom in or a simple jump cut, or like even in even just minor effects that can help to create a camera angle. And I mean, we were working on this with the natural transitions project that we just did. It was like working with the camera angles, but it's also like the timing of the camera angles. Like with the whip shot, it's got to be fast.
Yeah.
It's got to be there. And with the sky shot, it's also like you have to match it up, and you have to actually like, I guess not like plan it out, but you kind of have to be aware of where you're going when you're making these transitions.
No, natural transitions are always really cool, and I think practical effects are a big thing. I think something that's super overlooked in the film industry is reflections, and I know that's something that's something I've always tried to incorporate, and I've never really used it in a lot of my work. But I think reflections are so cool.
Now, when you say reflections, what do you mean by that?
I say reflections in a couple of ways. So I love when people, it's like, it'll be a man looking through. There's a scene like this in Batman. He looks through a piece of glass or a window, but what's happening in the background, what he's looking at, is reflected onto the glass. And I always think that's something that tells a really good story. I love in music videos when people have glasses and it's a close-up. They typically use like a probe lens or some sort of macro lens of the person's eye, and you can see the reflection of that, or like when it's a close-up of the eye and there's like a fire going on. I think what is it? I don't remember who the guy who says it, and I know this is a big thing in film. So it's like the eyes never lie. And so I think reflecting things off the eyes and reflecting, I think that's the best way to depict, and that's something I try and use in my shots a lot.
Yeah, I know. I think I've seen you work a lot with that, just kind of around the classroom this year. I saw you, you know, because you come in here and you fiddle with everything, and it's a cool process to watch. But like the other day when you had the projection and you're like, oh, you could just walk up and say, oh, he's burning, and then you held the projector
Yeah,
up.
no, I actually thought about using that today. That would have been funny.
No, but it was that, and then you also got out that like, I don't even know what kind of camera you use, but you put your eye up to something, and I'm
Yeah,
just
the probe
watching you
lens,
shoot
that's
the
what I'm talking
probe
about.
lens
Yeah, and then it's
I
all about
just
masking
watching
it onto
you
there.
go up in there, and you're just putting your eye, and I'm like, what is he doing? But like now it like makes sense. But I think that's another thing is like behind the scenes, these shots are so technical. Like the setup for the shots, like you said, like it wasn't. Taking the shot was like 45 seconds. It's not a lot to record it, but it's a lot to set it up, and it's a lot to get the shot ready and know what shot you're going to do. And that's something you do really well, honestly. As like a filmmaker for your age and like what you're doing right now, the way that you go about it, it's really like it's a talented thing to have.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, I want to get into some movies because now I'm excited about the whole Christopher Nolan thing. So like, give me your top five greatest movies of all time.
My top 5 greatest movies.
You give me top 3 if that's hard. 'cause I
Number
get it's hard.
number one, Burlesque. I really love. Listen,
I'm gonna pretend like I've
and
seen
here's
that.
why. Here's why. I love how they used the shots in the theater because it's in this like almost backwash theater that's very like 1920s ish. And I like how they use the shots to show the glamour around the stage and how they use it to show kind of the room between the stage and the stage and the crowd, because it's like, do you know the Moulin Rouge in Paris? It's like that.
Yep.
It's like the Moulin Rouge in Paris, but it's downscaled. But I love how they use the
it's a
shots to
musical.
show the glamour. Yeah, it's a musical movie.
Shit.
I love my musical movies.
Musicals are fire.
So Burlesque is probably my top for the way that they compare it. But like Harry Potter is always gonna be one of my favorites.
I gotta leave this podcast right now.
Oh! No, you can't.
Star Wars is the greatest movie of all time.
Star Wars. Listen,
Rogue
I don't.
One is
I
the
don't.
best Star Wars movie. Yeah, like he's phenomenal.
Listen, I was born on
I
Star
believe
Wars Day, so I don't
DP
hate
was
on
it
it.
Greg
I love
Fraser?
Star Wars, but like, I love Harry Potter, and I'll always be a Harry Potter girly at heart. But Star Wars, Avatar was really good with their camera angles, and the way that they went
Greg
into it with
Fraser.
their CGI and green screen with Avatar was amazing to watch the behind the scenes. Let's
Alright,
see.
well, I don't know what Burlesque is, but I'm about to give you the greatest top 3 of all time right here. Ready? Star Wars, Rogue One. Greg Fraser just did Dune 2. I think he might have done Dune 1 too. But oh my gosh, I almost just bought his book. It is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
His shots are so beautiful. You know what else was a problem that I don't talk about enough? Talk about color grading and stuff. I'm
Oh my
literally color
gosh.
blind, so
Talking about you filming in log.
yeah, that's always an interesting process. But Greg Fraser on Rogue One, cinematically the most beautiful movie ever. This is a big one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Potentially one of the greatest movies of our generation. Surf's Up. Surfing penguins doesn't get much better than that.
I've never seen it.
Like such just a childhood like love movie. Like that's my comfort movie, right? You know, girl just breaks up with me. Oh man, I'm sad, I'm depressed. I'm watching Surfing Penguins. It doesn't get much better than that.
I've never seen it.
And then
So-
number 3, I actually have a list somewhere. Oh, Rocky 4. The greatest story of all time. His best friend dies to Ivan Drago, goes over to Russia during the Cold War and fights him for his best friend. Like greatest story that I've ever seen. Like you cannot write a better story than that. You know, honestly, too many people nowadays are trying to be like, "Oh, my favorite movie is blah 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 blah," and no one's ever heard of it, right? It's like too indie, it's too so like unfathomable, like it's supposed to be artsy and you can't understand it. The best movies are the most simple things, and that's something I really want to change. You know, honestly, Hollywood doesn't make low budget films anymore, and I think that's something really sad. For example, like all these movies nowadays have to have a huge set budget. They have to be, and the jokes, they're not that funny. That's something we got to change. Back in the day, like early 2000s,
But
those
that's
movies
also
were
like
popping, bro. They were,
but it's
they
also
were
like the
cheap.
way that jokes could be presented back then is very different from how jokes can be presented today.
We need to change that. Honestly,
It
like,
needs to be changed, and it's also like that's where filmmakers like you and the next generation come in, where they're like, we want to go back. Because one thing that's really, and I see it a lot on
I'm gonna get
social
in trouble a
media.
lot in the film industry. but-
I see it I see it a lot in the like social media version of like the film world is like the more original content, the like the daily vlogs with like the simple editing and the simple words and the simple voiceover, but it's like it's put together so well that it's so original that it's like
yeah,
you
I
like
think
it.
the film industry is kind of going into short form content. I think Instagram, YouTube, all that
Yeah.
stuff. Even like if you look at Mr. Beast, I mean, he's putting millions of dollars. I actually got to talk to Dan Mace, Mr. Beast's chief creative officer, over the summer. You look at that, they're pouring millions of dollars into these videos that are only 10 minutes long, but I think the return on their investments is really good. But like, yeah, I think those videos are funny because also he doesn't have producers telling him what he
Right.
can and can't do. I think we need to go back to, I mean, I remember, what's the movie? Grown Ups. Or if you look at movies like Project X, if you look at
Yes.
movies like
Yes.
The Hangover. Honestly, those are hilarious and they look like they're filmed on my iPhone camera.
Like Step Brothers.
The shots are not anything beautiful. I'm not sitting there with my jaw open, but I'm sitting there having a good time. I'm enjoying going to the movies. The last time I went to the movies was for Deadpool and Wolverine. Phenomenal movie, off the top or on top of the charts. Like I thought,
It was a great movie.
gosh, what's the guy's name? Ryan Reynolds. He was funny. I'm gonna be honest. I don't laugh at movies. Some people will be, oh, that movie was funny. Yeah, it had some funny moments, but I
Yeah.
kind of don't ever laugh.
They
That was one of the
delivered
first
that
times
one
when I was
like really
laughing.
well, and for the recent Marvel movies, they've been okay. The Deadpool versus Wolverine movie, it was really good, and I'm glad that they let a lot slide that they did.
Phenomenal.
It was great scripting, and the camera angles and editing was
All right, so the
really
big
good on
question
that
is,
movie.
They're gonna remake an old movie, any movie, and they're
no.
asking you to direct it. You get to pick. What old movie are you recreating?
Oh.
Because I love like when they go back and recreate movies. It's not always great. Or what character are you playing?
Personally, and to wrap it up on this note, if I had to go back and play any character in like a resetted like way, I'd probably go back and play Rizzo from Grease. I
It's a
love
fun movie.
her.
It's a fun
I think
movie.
she's
You know, when I was born, okay, this because I know you said wrap it up, so I will. But when I was born, my name's Luke. Luke's a biblical name. I think that's the only reason my mom agreed to it. But my dad, when I talk about Star Wars, my dad's a huge Star Wars fan. That's why he agreed to it, right? That's why the name was even brought out there. My mom told me this a few years ago. I went to church and I got baptized. I mean, I was like 2 months old. I don't even remember it. But the pastor came up to my mom and dad and was like, oh my gosh, like you picked Luke. That's a biblical name. It's so beautiful. And my dad said, hell nah. He's named after Luke Skywalker. So I'm destined to play that character first of all.
if you play Luke Skywalker, then I would love to see you have a GoPro in that movie.
What?
On like behind the scenes and just do some kind of random funny moment.
I'm destined to play Luke Skywalker, and also, like maybe that was the start of my film journey right there, is from the origin of my name. But I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming and
Perfect.
being a guest. And
I'll be back.
yeah, you'll probably be back, but
Give
we'll
me a
save
month
that
or
for
two.
future reference. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And
Gotta hit the Robert Downey Jr.
all right, and we'll be right back.
Everything hot, and I ain't talking stolen. Used to make a check from cutting grass around the hood. Now it's bi-weekly when them folks come through and get the mowing.
All right, and welcome back.
We're
we
back.
just talked to Luke and Hannah.
We did. It was really fun. We talked a lot about cameras.
Yeah,
like,
we did.
a
A
lot of
lot
different
of
shots.
camera shots, but like that was the goal of today's episode, was to
It
talk about
was.
it, because like I said at the beginning, we've done the mood project and we did the natural transitions project, and in film, camera shots that's the most important thing that you're working with, is
Absolutely.
what shots are you going to make. And actually
You can't make a film without the shots.
I wish I grabbed an example of like Luke's drawing board that he does when he plans this out, but quoting
has a
what
cool
he said,
drawing board.
the shot takes 45 seconds to shoot. It's really the going behind the scenes, and we could even say that for this, like the whole class period yesterday, we were
setting
this set up to go into
and like
it.
we had to make sure all the equipment worked.
Yeah.
And like even today when we got here, we still had to set it all up and make sure everything worked. And some things like the little light bars below us, they both died right before we clicked film. So we had to fix those. But it all worked out. And
did.
in the end, the shot looks beautiful. And that is what we were going for, because if you want to make a really good movie, you can have a good story,
But
and
it's
you can
nothing
have good
without
actors,
the shots.
but it is absolutely nothing without
Yeah.
the prettiness and like the beauty of what you're showing.
Absolutely.
Which is why
Especially because
Star
different
Wars
shots
is so
can.
awesome. What?
What'd you say?
I said Star Wars might be awesome.
Star Wars is awesome.
It is awesome.
Star Wars is amazing. Yeah, it's amazing.
I was scared of getting my
But-
head ripped off. She's a big Harry Potter fan, guys.
I am Harry. Listen,
knows?
I don't hate on Star Wars. I was literally born on Star Wars Day, like, so it's kind of like in my
Oh,
blood.
I forget about that.
I was born on Star Wars Day.
Yeah, guys, this is Princess Leia. If y'all didn't know.
I just, but I'll always be a Harry Potter girl at heart.
That's understandable.
I
Harry's the goat.
No,
Actually, today.
not Harry.
Oh,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
what? Why do you always surprise me?
I actually think Harry's like a really boring character.
I'm
I
sorry.
actually think the Golden
What?
Trio is very
Hold on,
overrated.
guys. I know we were supposed to be doing our outro, but this is big. Who is your favorite character from Harry Potter? If Harry
My
Potter's
favorite-
the most boring.
Okay, so my go-to to tell people is Luna, but I actually really love Tom Riddle's character.
Oh,
But-
wow.
And I could
wow.
I could explain it. I could explain why to you.
At least it wasn't Voldemort.
No, it's not. It's Tom Riddle, and it's Tom Riddle because Dumbledore is the villain in the story for me. And
Really?
you know, for me, it's Dumbledore could have saved Tom Riddle, but that's a whole story in
Is
itself.
Tom Riddle Voldemort?
Yes,
Really?
but here's the thing: Tom could have been saved, and I think Dumbledore let Tom go a little bit.
He
And
probably did.
We could talk more about that next week.
Yeah, Dumbledore did not like Voldemort, man.
No,
I can
I
can get behind all that. I can get behind all that.
period.
I can.
But yeah,
This was episode 2, guys.
this is episode 2. Thank you for joining us on the
Thank
Pack
you
Pod
guys so
again.
much.
I'm Eva,
And I'm Rex.
and we'll see you next time.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.